find myself a lot missing Georgia. You know, I experienced a lot of harshness out there from people. But it's one thing that I have to say about Georgia is that even though it was my first time visiting the South, I've never seen such a beautiful place. You know, I've been to a lot of places. But I will have to say one thing. Georgia is the second most beautiful place that I've ever seen. You know, the beautiful greenery of the place was it was beautiful. It was exhilarating. The number one most beautiful place that I've ever seen was Ramah, Pakistan. Look up Ramah, Pakistan. R-A-M-A, Pakistan. And I was over there with a friend of mine who has passed away. His name was Edward David. He was a resident of Dharamsala, India. And him and I went to Ramah, Pakistan. As a matter of fact, my passport was only for India at the time. But he wanted me to meet some people over there in Ramah, Pakistan, because he wanted me to sit and listen to these people talk about what's going to transpire over here eventually in America and what is transpiring currently in America. Now, this was back in 2007. But the way that Ramah, Pakistan looked, there was huge mountains around us. And it was very green, you know, beautiful green grass. But what really touched and affected me the most was there was a, you might as well say like a miniature river dividing the land on this side and the land on the other side, which contained the huge mountains. And when I went to this river, you were able to see all the way down to the bottom of the river. And my friend Edward David had told me that, because I asked him how deep was the river, and he said it was 20 feet deep. 21 and a half feet deep. However, I was still able to see all the way down to the bottom of that river because the water was so clean. Actually, you were able to take your cup and you were able to drink right out of the river. Now, this is Ramah, Pakistan. It's like heaven on earth. And then that night came to where only the moon was out. And I only told one person of this experience, and that's my brother Josh, who lives in Dallas, Texas. When that night came, I've never seen anything so beautiful in my life because the moon was out. And this was the first time in my life that I can say that the moonlight was almost just as bright as the day's sun. And there was some beautiful, thick clouds out that night. And so the moonlight was shining down on the mountains, the green grass, and the river, and it made the river look like it was twinkling as it was moving. It was alive. Everything around us was alive. And it was just a beautiful night. You know, there was a slight cool breeze blowing, and it had a steady wind blowing. And it was me, my friend Edward David, and it was 7 other men out there who were members of the Taliban. Now, I know that's hard to believe, but I'm really not concerned about what's believed or not. But it was a beautiful night. And what America is not telling you, that a whole lot of these so-called militia groups are not only occupied with Arabs. There's Africans involved. There's guys from France involved. All of those things, but that's a whole nother video. But I never wanted that night to end. It was beautiful. But what stopped all of my traveling is that my friend Edward David had passed away. He passed away from malaria. And it was 6 months later, his wife, Mira, she died of malaria. And they both resided in Dharamsala, India. They had 2 children. And so I lost all of the connections that I had over there in Dharamsala, India, and Rama, Pakistan. And those connections, I wasn't very certain that they were going to remain, because I wasn't close to these people who Edward David had introduced me to. So when I lost contact with all of those brothers over there, it didn't surprise me, even though it disturbed me, because when Edward David passed away, my funds over here in America had depleted to the degree that I wasn't able to go to his funeral when he had passed away. And I was a manager out here at a casino that used to be in activation out here called the Rio. So when I was working there, I wasn't able to go to his funeral. And me and Edward David were very close brothers. You know, we used to study together. I used to sit up in his living room when I was out there and discuss things with him, things that I wanted to do, things that I wanted to accomplish. And when he passed away and his wife passed away, I don't know where their children are. And if I went back right now, it's been so long, I don't even know if his children would even recognize me. Even though at the time they was calling me Uncle David and everything. And I learned a whole lot when I was out there. I went to the Dharamsala 3 times. And each time that I went, I learned a whole lot about myself. I learned a lot. But that's the Rama, Pakistan. But this thing with Georgia, even though the people who I came in contact with out there were very foul and harsh. You know, as I said before, I went out there, you know, to get married and everything. But I find myself it's something about Georgia that grieves me sometimes, because I guess it's because I wish that I was in a better circumstances so that I would have been able to enjoy being in Georgia, even though a part of me wanted to remain there and a part of me just wanted to get out. And I think one of the reasons why I wanted to leave was because of the way that I was treated out there by the people who I had come in contact with. Now, I will say this, and all of these people were adults. However, what I did enjoy out there was the younger people who I met when I was working. I was working with them. And not too long before I had left, I was working in a Popeyes restaurant as a dishwasher. And you know, I've only shared this with my my close brother, Josh, in Dallas, Texas. You know, sometimes you don't realize where you need to be humbled at, or the creator in the universe takes you through things. You know, I was telling my brother Josh, I said, you know, this is when I was out there. And I'm telling him, I said, you know what, Josh, this is an amazing experience for me, because I'm a man who I've traveled. You know, I've talked to a lot of people who would be considered controversial, famous. You know, I'm friends with Mike Tyson. I've been friends with him a very long time. I had a chance to meet Toni Braxton and her family out here in Vegas. I met brother Jamie Foxx. Jamie didn't live too far from where I was staying. Actually, I was staying in a 3-bedroom condominium out here in a place called Canyon Gates, and I was staying on the side of where they had up to 3-bedroom condos, and they had a wall separating that section of Canyon Gates, and on the other side of that wall, they had miniature mansions. And brother Jamie Foxx had one of those mansions over there. And whenever I would go out and take my walks, sometimes I would see brother Jamie sitting on his porch, and I would say, hey Jay, what's going on? Very nice brother. He said, what's going on, man? How you doing? You know, and I noticed the way that he would always ask me how I was doing. He would put an emphasis on certain words. Hey man, how you doing? You know, I really hope that brother pulls through, and I know he is. Love and honor to you, Jamie Foxx, and we hoping the best for you, bro. But I was telling my brother Josh, I said, you know, I've traveled a lot of places. You know, I've been to a lot of places. And I came all the way over here to Georgia because things I felt were not working out for me in Las Vegas in my personal life. I didn't have any. I had some slight problems with the economic system, just some basic problems that a whole lot of you know, go through a whole lot. You know, the whole racism, and, you know, the manipulation of the seniority system in order to favor others, and, you know, for their own to get into management positions, whether they're the same race or personal friends, or, you know. But I was telling him that I came all the way from over there. I was frustrated with the economic system. I was frustrated with my personal life. You know, both my son's mother kept interfering in our relationship and so on and so on. And, you know, the women that I was dealing with out here were just trifling, you know, it just wasn't working out for me. And so I wasn't happy. I wasn't content with my life. And so when I met Salam and Yilma, her and I talked a whole lot, but you know, I'm just gonna say this. When you talk to a woman, and regardless if she uses her gift as a manipulating tool, currently it is very refreshing to talk to a woman who is very highly intelligent and very wise. See, that's what attracts me more so than anything else when it comes to a woman. Because I'm like, if you're not an intelligent, it doesn't matter how beautiful you are, if you can't communicate, if you can't have an intelligent and effective conversation with someone, your looks mean absolutely nothing, you know? So everything that I felt like I was missing out here, I felt that was in her. And so it made it easier for me to get on a plane and go to Georgia. Now, of course that didn't work out, but I will say this. Salam Yilma gave me a gift. And it's a gift that I never had a chance to thank her for. And it's a gift that I never spoke about, only once in my videos. Salam Yilma took me to a place out there that is called Stone Mountain. And a lot of you who are from Georgia or who have went to Georgia and has experienced Stone Mountain knows what I'm talking about. And we climbed all the way to the top of Stone Mountain. And when you get to the top of Stone Mountain, you look over Stone Mountain, and it's like standing above the clouds. However, the clouds are trees. And as far as you can see, you see the beautiful trees of Georgia all out there. And I thought that was phenomenal. That was beautiful. And you know, a lot of times, I would like to experience that again. You know, regardless of how things transpired between her and I truly thank her for giving me that gift, you know. And when I was talking to my brother Josh, and I was telling him, I said, you want to know something, Josh? I said, told you a lot of places about a lot of places that I've gone, and you know, a lot of things that I've experienced. This is just what I was telling you. And I said, you know, from traveling overseas, from knowing all of these celebrities in Las Vegas, I come over here to get my life together. And it seems like my life have been diminished all the way down from all of that to end up being a dishwasher in the back of a Popeyes restaurant, a dishwasher. I'm going towards something. And he said, yeah, man, that's gotta be a humiliating experience. And I had agreed with it, and you know, because I felt humiliated because I was comparing my present to my past. And therefore I wasn't living in the present, and I wasn't able to perceive exactly what the Creator was putting me through to learn about myself and people in general. So in working there was a young lady named Ebony. There was a young man that his name is Derek. Me and Derek used to work a lot back in the kitchen. John, Kathy, I'm trying to remember a lot of the names there. I mean, there's a lot of people. Brandon, Brother Brandon, and a lot of people there. And you know, what I noticed is that even though they didn't know exactly how I was thinking and how I was feeling, those young people showed me so much love and respect. And they were so affectionate towards me because I'm not a very physically affectionate man. And so even though they knew that, a lot of them, you know, Ebony and a lot of the younger women would show me a lot of affection. Yeah, they had their little crushes and everything like that, but some of them would just come up and just give me a sweet little hug and kiss on the cheek and ask me, "How you doing, Mr. David?" You know, and everything. And had my brother Derek back there, and me and Derek would be working together. We'd be back there cracking jokes and taking out the trash together and everything. And one night when I was back there, and me and Derek got into this beautiful conversation about life in general. And as we were talking and working together, I could feel the humiliating feeling diminish, and a humbling feeling had came over me. And so when that transpired, I understood why my life went the way that it was. It was a humbling experience. It wasn't a humiliating type experience. So I wanted to share this with everybody. Sometimes a lot of things don't work out because they're not supposed to work out, so that when you move forward from those experiences, those times will. But sometimes the Creator has to put you through things to change your status of thinking so that you could gain an understanding and wisdom and maturity, so that when you do move forward and into those experiences, you will be better equipped in order to receive what's ahead of you. What Ebony, Derek, Brandon, and a lot of those young people did for me is they helped me continue to love my way through that harsh experience in Georgia. And if it wasn't for them, a lot of times, I'm not certain how the whole Georgia experience would have worked out for me, because I was very hurt, I was very angry, but meeting and working with these young people really was a beautiful counseling for me, you know, and they helped me endure harshness with a lot of love and beauty, and I'm going to always love and appreciate that. Now, in comparison to the beauty of Georgia that I mentioned earlier, and the beauty of these young people, it puts the harsh experiences that I had in Georgia to the back burner, and just let them burn. Just let them burn. Even though those experiences were necessary to get to that point. So I'm planning on going back to reconcile my self with Georgia. Probably spend like a couple of months out there, just so I can enjoy the beauty of Georgia. I would like to go back to Stone Mountain. And another thing that Salam had introduced me to is that they have a 5-mile trail, and it goes all the way around Stone Mountain. And it's a trail that a lot of brothers and sisters walk, to exercise. And so we was walking around there. You should have saw Lord Salam. She was gone. And so during that 5-mile trail, it takes you along a path. Like a lot of people say that you will end up seeing a lot of houses that were previously plantations out there. And I took some pictures of some of those homes there on my Facebook. But I would like to take that 5-mile walk by myself, So, and there was a guy named Bill Lee that I met. And he was an occupant of Salam's condominium. He was renting one of the rooms. And Bill looked out for me after her and I had broke up and everything. She was trying to starve me out of the house. She took all the food and put it upstairs in her room, and it was, I don't want to taint the conversation, but after he had moved out, he would bring me food by and everything. But before that happened, he was looking for I to start working with him in the warehouse, because I know how to work a forklift. I know how to work 3 different types of forklifts, and so they needed someone with forklift experience to work in a warehouse. And so one night he came and got me. He said, "Come on, Dave, I want to take you over here to this house where we're celebrating a partner of mine's niece's birthday. And a lot of the people who you're going to be working with are going to be there." And so we drove over there, and it was this beautiful, gorgeous neighborhood. Very modern type homes. It's an area in Atlanta, Georgia. And so we came in the house. All of his friends were in there. He introduced me to everyone. But what caught my eye was this elderly woman. And she was sitting in the dining room. She's sitting at the dining room table by herself. And after I got done being introduced to everybody, I got me a plate of food. And so I sat down in front of her. I introduced myself to her. And she introduced herself to me. And as I was eating, this elder of Atlanta, because I don't remember her name, I don't recall her name, she just started talking to me. And I found myself opening up to her about the whole experience that I was going through in Georgia and how hurt I was, and and this woman, she was about my complexion, though it was just a little darker. She looked like she had like a copper complexion, and she had long, straight and curly hair, and she was beautiful. She was a beautiful woman, and she just opened up. She started talking to me, and I never heard so much pure wisdom coming out of a woman. It is almost like I was sitting right in front of God, because the only thing that came out of her mouth were facts. I didn't have to believe anything she said. I knew that what she was telling me was facts. And so she actually had me on the verge of tears, because that's the way the truth affects me sometimes. Sometimes it makes me cry. And when I was sitting there talking to her, Bill's friend kept coming by the table, like, is everything all right? We said, yeah. And I understand that. I mean, here's a man who he's never met before. And instead of him being in the living room, sitting, talking along with everyone else, he's over here talking to my great aunt, and he's listening to her, and she's listening to him. And so he found that kind of odd. And so after she was telling me that just keep my head up. She said, don't ever change for the worst. She said, always allow life to evolve you into the better and not the worst. She said, it doesn't matter if you're going through the fire. She said, just make it through the fire. And she said, don't let the fire burn the goodness out of you. She said, just allow it to burn the worst out of you. And she said, when you allow it to burn the worst out of you, then you can look back at the fire. She said, you can look back and you can smile. And after she went to bed and rest, we were all talking in the backyard of Bill's friend's house. It was a beautiful backyard. It was like a lot of Asian artifacts back there. He had it set up real beautifully, had like a little fountain that was going through, and he asked me, did you enjoy the conversation with my great aunt? I said, that was your great aunt? He said, yeah, why you ask that? I said, because I thought that was God, And we was talking, and I told him, I said, yeah, man. I said, from talking to some of the elders of Atlanta, Georgia, those who were born and raised there, and still have that beautiful, enduring sweetness, wisdom, and everything. I truly enjoyed listening to her. And I often think of her, and I'm still in touch with my brother Bill Lee, who looked out for me. And a part of me wants to ask him about her, and a part of me doesn't, because she was a much older woman. But I don't know, I would just hate to hear that she has passed on, especially considering I plan on going back, for a couple of months or so. But it's all it's all a time for growth and healing and restoration, maturity, and all of those things. We go through all of those things, and our growth and our maturity it's not just for us, you know. Those beautiful things that are imbued within us from the Creator and guided by the universe is for the world. You know, we are supposed to be vessels of goodwill and humanity. And so actually I was hoping that I would get to the point, and I know that I will because I feel it coming. You know, those who I felt wronged me in Georgia, I'm going to put forth a effort for us to reconcile our differences. Salam, Joseph, and Kathy. I don't know about Kathy because Kathy wasn't really angry at me. But I think Kathy, the woman who I was living with after Salam, who was a co-worker with me, she ended up being angry with me because I didn't want a relationship and I didn't want any more children, whatever the case may be. But as far as my reconciliation or reformation, you might as well say, with those who I did not do, but still put forth an effort to heal those situations, I'm willing to do so. As far as Kathy is concerned, I don't know what to do in that situation, but I'm just going to allow the Creator and the universe to guide me when I go back out there, because you never know the people who I'm saying that I'm going to put forth a effort to reconcile our differences. You never know, the Creator may not want me to do any of those things. You know, so I'm just going to see how it all works out. But, you know, I guess this video is about my saying that I've made my peace with the entire Georgia experience. I've made my peace with it. And I've said some very harsh things about Georgia. And it was only because of my personal experience with the people in whom I came in contact with. And so Georgia was the birthplace of my grandmother on my mother's side, Meredith Harper. And when I was out there, I wasn't able to reconnect with her side of the family because for so long, our family lost contact. And so most of those people are my mother's people. And she's been so out of touch with them, she's not even certain if those people are still alive or anything, but, you know. But it's all about healing and then maturity, no longer hurting, forgiving, putting forth an effort to reconcile relationships with different people that were left uncertain. I would put it like that. That's what it's about. And so it all ties up with maturity, and regardless of how many places you've been, how many people you know, none of that means anything if you're not right here. You know, the Creator wants us to no longer think from here, but from here. If you allow this to lead you, then you'll be fine. So with that being said, I don't even know why, but I made this video, but it feels good. It feels good. I just felt like all of these thoughts that I was seeing while I was in meditation, I felt like a lot of this could possibly help someone in some area in their life in terms of all of this being somewhat of an example of healing. You know, so, okay, with all that being said, everyone have a good night, and everyone stay human.